So hello and welcome to day 80 of scaling my marketing consulting agency to 10K a month. As you can see, doing another video here from the laptop. You would have seen a couple episodes back, or a couple of days back, not really episodes, but essentially that I got this MacBook, um, the new one, and so it basically makes it a lot easier if for whatever reason I'm not with my camera, or just at the time it's a lot easier to record an update video like it is now on this, to basically have and be able to upload something that's still quite high quality, and that just, yeah, makes sense, um, to basically be able to upload. Obviously, it's not 4K, and the camera is also, obviously a very good and expensive piece of kit as well. So I'm going to obviously want to make use of it as much as possible. I also obviously use it for to record, for ads, and um, obviously just for personal use as well if I ever go anywhere. So obviously, again, that's really good. But um, yeah, essentially, I'm recording this a couple of days later because these kind of 2 days, the video that you're seeing today and the video that you'll see for tomorrow's video, is essentially it's essentially over the weekend, so Saturday and a Sunday, where I just tried to. I was doing work, so like today, just to give you a rundown of how my Saturday went. Um, Woke up later than obviously like I usually would on a weekday, around 8 or 9, I think, and then kind of went about my day, did a bit of work on my laptop as well, and then essentially, because we did a big food shop in the evening, before in yesterday's video, we were doing lots of cooking essentially, so that I spent more than I usually would on a week's food shop, so that I would be able to just food prep. And what's great is that when I've been going to work at this weekend, at Audi, at my part-time job, I haven't needed to essentially buy anything because um, my girlfriend was cooking loads of bits for me essentially, which was great. So that made everything a lot easier. Also, the fact that um, actually had a weekend, and I did, like, I worked like 14 hours this weekend over both days. I did a 6 hour and an 8 hour, so definitely not days off, to be completely honest. But obviously, compared to obviously what I'm doing when I'm kind of sat down like I am now on my laptop, and there where I'm, scanning people shopping or stocking up shelves and things like that, it's obviously there's a whole different environment completely. And that's what I'm going to get onto, because essentially I knew that for today, on the Saturday, that my boss had a shift until about 4 o'clock. So he was doing a 6-4. So it's like a 10-hour shift. So I thought I want to have a chat with him about work and if I'm able to leave essentially, and at least give him enough notice essentially about it if that is going to be my decision. Um, but I thought, well, maybe it's not the right time because I'm coming in at 4 when he's already completed a 10 hour. So I said to him, look, if I come in 10 minutes early, can we have a chat? And he was like, yeah, pop in. It's completely fine. So I did. Went and sat down in the office, um, and yeah, spoke through everything. I'm not sure if he saw it coming in terms of, I think he did in a way, like he knew all through the interview and all through when he first hired me and the onboarding, about the fact that obviously I have this business, and in a sense, without it being said explicitly, he knew that kind of the whole aim the whole time was, as soon as I joined and as soon as I got the job, the aim became to leave in a sense. Um, since it was only ever part time anyway, and that was something I was doing full time, so it's quite obvious to anybody that if you're working full time on a business and working part time as well, that it's just about the fact that the business isn't at a point where it's providing you enough cash flow to sustain yourself as well, and that's why you have that job. Obviously, that's just, it's quite obvious to anybody. So it's at a point now where the business isn't necessarily at that point yet, but my savings and what I'll be able to get for the next couple of months will be enough to sustain myself essentially over the next few months, while I'm working on the business, and I can just work on it, all the time, full time, like completely full time, um, and yeah, essentially be able to do what I need to do. Um, so that's great. I spoke with it. I spoke with him about it, and yeah, in a sense, I think yeah, maybe he probably did see it coming if it was possible. The kind of ultimatum, or the not the ultimatum, but the alternate decision, or option that he gave me was, at the minute I'm on a 20-hour contract, and he said if we cut you down to 10, you could do like one day a week. We'll just set a 10-hour, so like for instance 8 till 6, and like because it would be like a flexi work contract or whatever, it means that he would have to give me that 10 hours essentially, that specific shift. But to be completely honest, I was thinking about leaving in June anyway, at least transferring. Um, so I would be leaving that store regardless in June, or like by the start of June. And so I was thinking, if I worked until the end of April doing 20-hour contract and then did another month in May doing just one shift a week on a Sunday, it's like, because that's kind of like the main one that he offered. It just kind of made me think, what's the point when it's like keeping me here physically all to do one day, and all that for like 600 quid or better, just shy of it, like 580 quid or whatever it would be, like a month. Um, just wouldn't be worth it really, in terms of, that's like a third of a sale for the business. Um, so I just thought, not sure about this. Um, and so obviously from that discussion, we just kind of left it there and was like, I'll see you on Tuesday in the morning because we're both in then, and I'll kind of give you my decision then. Um, and initially, kind of when he had the discussion with me, I thought, look, well, that's possible. It takes a strain off me. I know that I can keep my Monday to Friday full, but I think for too long now I've been juggling all these different kind of areas, and I just want to be able to like not have to, or not have to as much. I'm not trying to say that I want to work less hard or work less overall, because I'm most likely gonna take a lot of the time that I was at Audi to be working on this on the business as well. But I think what it enables me is that if I have 20 hours a week back, like 80 hours a month, then that just frees up a lot of time, so that kind of a few things. I don't have to be sleeping at 7 a.m. Sorry, I don't have to be sleeping at 7 p.m., to be waking up at 3 a.m. I don't have to be, um, instead of working on the business until 6 o'clock, for example, having to be leaving at like 3:30 to go to a shift, working into the evening. I can do my full day on the business and have the evening, um, to have some form of relax there. And I think overall, even when I spoke to my parents about it, they said they were kind of like, it's not even a case of financially that we would be worried about that decision, because we trust that you would have put some maths in it to know that you could sustain yourself for a few months at least. And what I wasn't actually expecting was that my dad, he just essentially said, "Look, if that's what you wanted, if obviously the ultimate decision is up to you." And I think what it made me realize is not to put this job on a pedestal, like Audi and being a store assistant there. I don't know. I feel like when you're there, um, people almost act and try and convince you that it's like a hard job to get and that it's a really good job. And I think, like, I agree with kind of both the for and against for this. Like, I do think that actually that is usually actually quite a difficult job to get, in terms of it is still entry level, but amongst the entry level jobs, it's one of the better ones, and um, I didn't actually really expect to be getting it when I applied for it. It was the best one. It was the best option that I had out of all the jobs that I had applied for. And I remember holding on to the fact that there's like a Tesco around the corner that I'd applied to, but that would have been less money. Um, yeah, it would have been less money, and it was set shifts that really weren't the best. Like a lot of them were going into the day. Obviously, it would have been like right around the corner there, but the other thing that my parents said was about like the human aspects of it, about the fact that this, while I've been up here, has basically been the only form of contact that I've had with like people, apart from obviously seeing like my girlfriend at the weekends or whenever I have time off, and that would be important. I think the my kind of comeback to that was that is true, and like I don't have any friends or family up here, so that is definitely an element, but. I guess the whole point is that if I'm able to obviously leave here completely, I can have freedom to be able to go to Birmingham to see my girlfriend until she comes back, or the fact that a lot of my friends will be back fairly early in the year as well, because they'll most likely be done literally like at the end of May or the start of June with their exams from uni, and then I can see them anyway. So there's that human aspect back already. Um, Another thing is obviously I can just work full time on this, and yeah, that whole thing my dad said about the fact that like my job, it's by the time the new essentially by the time that the new minimum wage comes in for 21-year-olds, obviously this October I'll be 21, so automatically I'll qualify for that as a minimum, which is like £12.70 an hour, and mine at the minute is like £13.50. So essentially, worst case scenario, I quit work and I go back and I have a completely minimum wage, you know, worst job there is, £12.70 an hour, because that's legal. That will legally be the minimum, and that's without the fact that this time next year in April, the minimum will go up again to £13 something probably. So that's without accounting for the fact that my CV with these types of jobs is actually pretty strong anyway, and the fact that by that point I would even be able to talk on my CV about running this company on marketing. And that's like a worst case scenario, even if it didn't go well, which I just don't believe is the case, because it's just not one of those businesses where you're like, or maybe it's all going to go downhill, or maybe there'll just there'll just be a loss of demand in the service, because again, that's just not like this is kind of the business model is kind of future proof in the fact that with AI advancing more and more, I just use more of it in the business and use it to help my clients. So um, yeah, I'm not really worried about the fact that work's going to dry up in that sense, because there's always untapped areas of the market. And as I've been finding with some of my clients now, um, the market with aesthetic clinics is growing. Like literally all of the last three clients, all of the clients that I've signed this month are people that are just starting their businesses. So that's without tapping into the market of existing clinics that have been struggling with problems for a while. That for them is even more painful to be able to get through that. So yeah, I think overall from all of these discussions and yeah, the various things going through my head, I think I've made the decision that I'm going to quit, and that I will quit from the 26th of April, which will be after 5 days of holiday. So officially, my last shift will be around. Let me just pull it up. When would it be? My last shift would probably be on the 19th, or maybe even before, depending on the rota for that week. So it's a 20, well, it's the, when you're seeing this video, it should be for the 21st, but because it will be uploaded later today when I'm actually recording it, you'll be watching it on the 23rd. So that's essentially less than a month away that my last shift will be. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like time has gone incredibly quick. Um, can't quite believe it really. There was this whole thing last year when I went to uni about the fact that um it did that felt really quick as well in terms of like as soon as I'd move into the room, it was like I remember my parents coming back and helping me pack it all away and put it in the car and go for like the last, not the last time because I actually went back to do an exam. But even that, when I remember like the absolute last time completely leaving the room, um, was yeah, it was crazy. It felt incredibly quick, and there'll be that time coming incredibly soon, that it will happen again, and yeah, very very strange. But I think what I can take from it is that if I'm looking at it in year segments rather than just month by month, because it's better to look at things on obviously a longer time horizon, a longer time span. In that previous year, I think in terms of progress and what actually happened for me to like move my life forward, not much. There was a lot of like different segments in terms of like personally being able to like experience that freedom for me and my girlfriend to like explore new places, like even like around the UK, not just the places that we had moved to for uni, was like incredible. We were able to go, um, so many different places, not just in the UK, but even on our first holiday together. So like that year was definitely transformational in terms of growing up and yeah, just getting into all of that stuff. But I think in terms of progress, like could I say by the end of that year that my life was in a better place? I was further forward in terms of getting to some sort of goal. I couldn't really because again, obviously uni is a minimum 3 year thing. So the first year of it is kind of like the only sense of progress I felt was that I was a year closer to getting the degree itself. But that's kind of in the summer. Obviously, I made the decision I didn't want to do that anyway and wanted to work on this. And since that time, since even August, which is not even a year ago, it's like 9 months ago, um, the progress you've seen, even on the videos in the last 3 months, has been amazing. So, yeah, just got to keep that up and um, things will keep going very well.